Don't think we're live here, Greg. So if you're pretty sure we're live, so welcome to the weekly rebound. This is the first ever live edition on Google Hangout with just me and Greg. You guys probably saw the week one preview coming into the season. It was went through all the rosters with Joey, Sam Leventhal. If you haven't seen it, go check that one out on the Legacy League's YouTube channel. But here I am, me and Greg, the first regular season week one recap edition of the weekly rebound here on a live Google Hangout. It's the first time we've done this, so this is a treat. This is a treat for everybody. This is live, uncensored, unfiltered. Greg was just saying, what has Joey done, putting us in the reins of such a madness that we're about to ensue upon? But Greg, welcome, my man. This is it, dude. This is the week one recap. Are you ready for this? Are you ready to be live in front of all these people who may or may not be watching?
I can't wait. I mean, I really can't wait. It's going to be a good year. I'm sure there will be comments from people like Ronte and Rzinski, so I can't wait for those. I saw you last week, Ronte. I did clean my room, and now I'm not even in my room. You see, I got some jerseys from some perennial all-stars behind me, and, it's just how it goes. I'm pumped to do this live. Now we can't edit out our bold takes, and we have to live with what it is, and it's going to be interesting.
Interesting to say the least. And yeah, I'm also not in my same room. I'm actually, my house is having some construction done. There's some people making noises and stuff. So if you might see me mute my mic a couple of times while Greg's talking, just to make the quality of the podcast a little bit better for you guys. So yeah, Greg, let's get right into it, man. And you know how we normally start off these podcasts. We get right into our surprise on the rise. And since this is the first episode of us doing it this season, for anybody that's new to the league, the surprise on the rise is kind of self-explanatory in the name. When you break it down, it's somebody that's making waves in the league that we weren't expecting. There's a lot of veterans in this league that we have, expectations that they come out, they ball, they set the standard. Me and Greg know that. We know that ahead of time. But then there's guys that, are new to the league, or maybe they're going to have a breakout season, and these guys come out and they have a good performance. And we like to highlight some of those guys just to, give them the recognition that they deserve along this ride, because there's a lot of guys that, make a splash. Some guys are like, hit and miss one week, they're good. Then the next week, they fade away. But then there's those guys who, they're here to stay. And when they have a breakout performance, it's definitely worth putting them on the pedestal. So, Greg, let's push it over to you. I'm gonna let you lead off with the first surprise on the rise for this season.
All right. So usually when we do surprise on the rises, you usually do a new player, a new team, something like that. But I'm actually going a little different route this time. And, I like to change things up. And I know Connor hates when I do it. But I'm going to go Dominique Langston. And I know that it's not that big of a surprise, but I'm gonna make my case. The Chasers, when you think of a team in any sports history that lost two of their best players in their, I guess you could say, franchise's history, as their team's history, the Chasers lost Jerry and Dee Dee Washington to rival Shocker City, the team that they're going to be most competing against to win the championship. So going out and getting someone like Dominique was important, because why he's my surprise on the rise is I think he's the most underrated player and most underappreciated player in the league. He had 17 points, 8 for 11 shooting, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He does everything, and he does it at such an ease where he has a game that's fit for an 8.5-foot rim. I can just tell. He's so smooth with the ball. He can play in transition. He can spot up. He can dunk on you. He can play in the post. He literally can do everything. And he's just like Eric. He's just like Greg Langston in the sense, and it runs in the family where there's such diverse players. And I think that this Chasers team needed a player like him. And I think he's the surprise, because now it's his role. He kind of had that with the Throne, but there were so many primary ball handlers in the Throne that it wasn't really his team. Where as on this team, I know there's Jamal, I know there's Larry, I know there's Seabrook, but Dominique, man, I'm telling you, they know who to get the ball to, and they know he's the man, and I think he wants it. He plays with the passion that I just really love. So my surprise on the rise is him, because everyone needs to watch out, because the Chasers, I know they lost their two best players, and everyone's like, they're not that good anymore. They are still a threat, and I would not want to meet Dominique Langston at the rim.
Yeah, Dominique is actually he's on a little bit of a vengeance tear coming into this season. He said to I think it was Joey that you recruited the wrong Langston, because I think he's a little bit salty, maybe that he's not on Eric's team, and maybe now he's set the path to come out and ball this season, because that's what he did week 1. So that's a good one for you, Greg. I think that, like you said, he's going to go from being a little bit more of a role player last season, like more of a defensive guy, 3-and-D type guy, to now one of the main scorers on that team. So it's going to be interesting to see his role develop throughout the season. I really like that pick, even though you thought I wasn't going to like it. I do like that pick. I'm going to go with somebody similar, somebody who has a similar role on his team. I'm going with this guy, Danny Lopez from Shocker City. All the big names on Shocker City, star-studded. They haven't lost a game yet under that name. Coming in from last season's champs, undefeated, and now here they are starting off on the right foot this year, or this winter, I should say. And Danny Lopez, dude, I did not think out of all the names on that list of Shocker City players that he'd be the one that really stood out to me. And I was watching that game, dude, and I was like, yo, who is this dude? This dude's balling. He had 14 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, 1 steal. And, that was one of the first games, it was the first game for all the interns doing stats. So for anybody that had any qualms about the stats, you got to be easy on the interns their first week. It's definitely tough getting all the stats right, especially those fast games. So there could have even been a couple of rebounds or even blocks that were missed, so it just, up in the air, that stat line, because I was watching this dude play, and he was all over the place, flying all over for rebounds, getting dunks at the rim, catching alley-oops. He was really all over. He's very athletic, and he might not be the most talented player. I didn't really see him shoot the ball too much. But at the end of the day, he has a motor and a drive that I don't think has anybody on that team can match. He was probably the biggest dude hustling out there on the court in terms of the effort and the tenacity that he was playing with. He was definitely up there. And I think that you need guys like that. You need like those Dennis Rodman type players who are going to get the 10 and 10 rebound doubles, or even, might get, there was a game where I think Dennis Rodman had like 20 something rebounds and 0 points scored. That's the type of guy I see Danny Lopez being for this team. Just a madman on the defensive end, flying for rebounds, and then maybe getting rewarded at the rack on some oops by some high IQ passes from their studs. So I really like his addition to this team amongst all the other pieces that they have, and I think he's he's worth that the surprise on the rise from me this week, Greg. So what are your thoughts on Danny Lopez before we get into the recap?
I literally couldn't agree more. I think he's one of the most hardworking players I've seen in this league. He reminds me of a Team Moose type of player, where he's not going to go out there and do it like Mike Davis does, where he's just going to toy around with you. He's not going to purely just beat you. He's going to outwork you in every facet of the game. I saw him posterize 2 kids, not because he was more athletic than them, even though he's extremely athletic, just because he wants it more. And that goes so far in this league because the games are so short. It's only 4 people out there that if you want it more than the other person that's guarding you, or no one really runs a zone in this league because there's 2 people. So I don't even know if you could do that, but it's comes down really to heart and just how much you want it. And he really wants it more than anyone I've ever seen in this league. He's one of the best rebounders, and he actually has a good stroke. I think he can hit the 3, and I'm calling it. I think in this upcoming game, he hits at least 4 threes.
Wow, that's a bold number, 4 threes. That's a handful. So I definitely think he has the ability for sure. It's just, is he the most talented player on that team? Definitely not. But he might be the biggest guy in terms of the effort. Like I said, that he gives out on the court. He's up there with the best of them. So Greg, let's get into it, man. Let's start recapping these games. There was a bunch of good ones. I think that this Young Kings Team Moose game is a good one to start with. This was a really interesting, game coming into it. You got two teams that we're both familiar with. We saw Young Kings last season in their rookie season, and they looked really good. They had a lot of, they had a lot of ambition, and they had a lot of hope that they would, make a little run in the playoffs, but it never really came to fruition. But I like their pieces. I like Dante. I like Eddie. Miles Raymond from last season, absolute stud. But they kind of retooled a little bit in terms of the off season, came in with a little bit of a new look lineup, and they ran into a Team Moose team that, even though that they had familiarity with Team Moose from last season, they showed a lot of respect. We talked to Eddie. He always said that Team Moose he thought was one of the best teams in the league. He always respected their defense, and that's what he ran into, that Team Moose defense. 78-54, Team Moose walks away with the win. Just an all-around team effort from Team Moose. They were moving the ball. I think I heard when I was watching the post-game show, because I actually didn't get to watch this game. I was on the other court while this game was going on. I think one of the interns in the post-game show made a good point, and he said that Team Moose actually lost in points in terms of the second and third quarter, but yet they walked away with a 20-plus point win. So I guess that just goes to show, like, even though when you beat Team Moose, you're probably not really dominating them, and then when they go on those runs in whatever quarter that it may be, it seems like it was the first and the fourth, they started out strong and finished hot. That seemed to be what I heard was the keys to this game, Greg. If you were watching this one, I'm sure you were probably getting some clips over there. What you see in this game? What you think of Team Moose in the win?
Team Moose is Team Moose. I think Melquan Horton had a good game. I think it was just one of those games where he's getting his footing going. I think he's going to start hitting the ground running these next couple weeks. Team Moose is really was the Kevin Blake show. Kevin Blake did his thing and proved again why he's probably going to be a perennial all-star in this league. And what he can do, and he can do it, and he can really do everything in the game. He's such a great rebounder. He has this mid-range game where he can hit the mid-range J. He has this nice floater. He really uses the backboard well, and he can run the point in a not really run the point, but he can bring the ball up the court, and he's smart with the ball where you can trust him. If there's for instance, Shocker City or someone like Run Team C or maybe pressing you can trust he's going to make the right decision, and that goes for every player on this team. Jesse Morrow really got introduced to this league. Welcome to the league, Jesse. He had 2 threes though, and I mean, if he's going to be hitting 2 threes for Team Moose, how many times do we talk about Team Moose needs threes? If he's hitting 2 threes for Team Moose and he can play good defense and he fits in the team, that is all they need. And then Melquan, like I said, we'll pick it up. Dan Nadas back, and I love to see it because he's such a phenomenal player. Once you add Brad back into this lineup, and who knows what other tricks they got up their sleeve, rumor is Daquan Stuckey might be coming to the team. And if that happens, I don't know. I mean, I could lock him up. Connor could lock him up. We all know that. But no, we're just kidding Stuckey. But still, I mean, it would be a really good addition. But as far as the Young Kings, they're a good team. Rumor mill has it that they might be picking up a few players, and they almost picked up Carmine Santorelli, but they, in the end, missed out. So Young Kings will be getting better, and they have a good team as is. They at a certain point in this game, they were down 4-6 to Team Moose late in the third. They were in this game. They played well. They just didn't shoot well for 3, 6 for 32. If they shoot around a 39, 45% clip, they could have been in this game with Team Moose, because that's how you beat Team Moose. You have to outscore them. So, well, obviously, but you have to outscore them from 3 because they can't hit their threes. But just overall, I love Miles Raymond. Me, Connor, and Joe, we always have the debate. I love Miles Raymond. Xavier Lyons, 6 for 22. He really kind of struggled from the field, and I think that's because, again, welcome to the league. But, again, overall, this Young Kings team is going to be a threat. They're a team you don't want to play just because they want it more than anyone, but they don't want it more than Team Moose did.
That's kind of really said it better myself, Greg. That's basically been the issue with anybody that wants to play Team Moose, is that you might be more talented than Team Moose, but you definitely probably don't play the team basketball that they play and play with the effort that they play with. Because if you're on Brad Seaman's team, if he catches you sleeping on the court, not giving your all, he will blast you and have somebody else off his bench replace you in a heartbeat. So definitely, we talked about like Danny Lopez and being the motor of that team. Brad Seaman is, he's the epitome of the motor of any team. And that's what it looks like. He's a leader. You need guys like that because they're the types of dudes that will lead you to victory in games where you don't think you could win. Gives you that motivation that you need. So definitely a key reason why they win a lot of their games, and it's probably going to be another reason why they win a lot more this season as well. Let's get into the next one, Greg. It was really, kind of a blowout game here between Sportslook and Shocker City. More teams that we're both familiar with, Sportslook being a long-time veteran team in this league. And, the veterans were asking me, they were saying, how is Sportslook? And I was telling them, Sportslook is like the Memphis Grizzlies. They're always solid. They're always good. But are they ever truly a contender that you think could go all the way? And it's, that's kind of where the line's drawn with these guys. And you saw them come into this game against Shocker City. That they were big-time underdogs, and Shocker City really kind of just blew them out of the water. 110-76. First quarter got off to a messy start, 25-9 in favor of Shocker City, and then they never really looked back. The second quarter was much closer, and you started to feel like Sportslook was starting to get their grip for the season. But at that point, the game was kind of already out of reach, and it kind of stayed like that. But what you see from this game, Greg, and when you were watching these two teams duel it out?
It was really the first 4 possessions of this game. I remember the first 4 possessions of this game was Jerry Washington dunk. Jerry Washington spin move, dunks over a guy. Jerry Washington dunk pass from Mike Davis. We learned when we watched the Chasers just what you got to do with the Washington brothers. Once the Washington brothers get going, man, there's nothing you can do. Once they get their rhythm going, it's over. Jerry Washington, I've seen it. I've played with him on 10-foot, and now I've seen it in this damn league too. He shoots a bank shot from the corner. And a lot of people will be like, oh, that's like – I've seen him do it over and over again. He has a specific shot. It's like in his arsenal where he can bank a 3 from the corner. It is just – he is toying with people out there. There's a clip in the top plays. I think Joey's going to post it to Instagram. Mike Davis is just – he could have dunked 6 times in this clip, but he keeps crossing over, and then posterizes 2 people. And even in the clip, you heard Devon Pratt go, just dunk it, man. What are you doing? So it's just this Shocker City team – Sportslook was a good team. I mean, Sportslook scored 76 points against Shocker City. That is a great effort. That, looking back at it at the end of the season, that could be one of the better efforts against the Shocker City team. They realistically could. Because if Deontay Washington is added to this team with JR, I mean, this team is going to be a problem. And it's just Jason Hernandez had his best game of his career. His entire career. I think his best game of his career. Just because he looked comfortable. He shot efficient. He played his role. And the last thing I'm going to say is if Chris Rosinski's scoring 10 points a game for your basketball team in this league, you're winning championship. It's over.
Wow.
If Chris Rosinski's getting 10, get the fuck out of here. If that's happening, it's over. Like, come on. If Chris Rosinski, if Rosinski drops 30 on a team this year, I'm done.
Oh my God, dude, you got me dying over here. But now people can see like how I actually react to your statements that you make on this pod. Sometimes you actually got.
I love Rosinski, but 30.
If Rosinski hits anybody with a 30 piece, we won't be living that one down till.
I'm talking to you, Gentlemen's Club.
Dude, Greg, if that happened, Chris would not let us hear the end of it, and Chris knows that for a fact. And Chris is going to hear this whole thing. He's going to be like, you guys talk about me way too much. But that he listens to hear us talk about him. So he always finds a way to get snuck into these podcast segments somehow, some way. And but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this game, Greg. Let's move on to the next one. Even though, there was a bunch of good games, the next one I want to get to is that Flint Tropics Breakers game. I feel like that was probably the game of the week. It wasn't the closest game, but I feel like in terms of 2 teams that we think that are both, realistic contenders. We saw Rim Breakers make a deep run last year in the playoffs, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run this season as well. As we saw them jump the Flint Tropics, got a big lead on them, double-digit lead. I was looking over from the other court, and I was like, no way, Flint's losing by double digits. And then, sure enough, I looked over later on in fourth quarter, and they had a lead, and I'm like, that's just typical Flint. They find a way to get these comebacks. Greg, I'm going to save you with the analysis because this is your team. This is your boys. So this is your whole time. This is your time to shine on this pod. Here it is.
Just like I said. So I don't got Henny. I'm going to get Henny the cigars next week. But I got some Sprite and vodka. I'm going to pour it. I'm going to pour it in honor of Flint. And I'm going to drink it later because the Flint Tropics winning, we get lit. Every time they win, everyone's getting lit. Because when Flint wins, it's a national absolute holiday. Mike Bizzuto, one of the most underrated players in the league. Oh, yeah, I'd like to introduce you someone to Nick Japs. Put some respect on Nick Japs' name. He's one of the top players in the league. Y'all sleep on Flint. You say the only player they got is Bizzuto. That's a complete disrespect. Flint's doing it. They're winning next week, too. I'm out.
The boldness is just I love it. You gotta be that big of a supporter. You gotta be the Skip Bayless Cowboy fan when you're rooting for Flint. You gotta be over the top. And I actually love it because I'm a big fan of those guys too. Those guys are good dudes and they make the league fun, dude. The league needs personalities and the league needs guys that come and take it seriously and guys that add some flair and pizzazz to the league. That's what those guys definitely do. And they ball on top of it. They come out and they never leave you wanting more effort from them because they're another one of those teams that since they're all trying, if they see any of their friends not trying, they get called out. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it plenty of times on that team. They call each other out when they're not, performing up to task. So that's something I really like about that team, the camaraderie that they have, and that's what makes them who they are. That's what makes them such a good team in this league. And I've said that all the time on the podcast about, it's not just about, being good players. They're a good team. They work together as a team. And I think that's what, really stands out when I analyze any of their games. But let's move on to the next one, Greg. The Chasers versus the Gentlemen's Club. This was the biggest blowout of the week. We didn't know anything about Gentlemen's Club really coming into this season. We saw them in the scrimmage, and they looked decent in the scrimmage at times. And then you saw one of their guys twisted his ankle. It was one of their more high-scoring guys. I think it was Will Lutz, actually, was the dude who was hitting some threes for that team. And then he went down. But this was a big one, Greg, 103-45. What you see out there from the Chasers, the former champs of this league, and their debut taking down Gentlemen's Club.
Yeah, they came out hot. They said Deontay and Jerry this Chasers team, they just did their absolute thing, man. I mean, they shot 52% as a team from the field, 47, essentially 48% from three. I mean, this team was absolutely balling. They had 53 total rebounds. That is absurd. And it's just 26-3 after the first. I mean, this game was over after 6 baskets. I mean, Gentlemen's Club, they have a few talented players. And, if I was them, I would try to get some of their players more shots. You shouldn't have this. They had took 57 shots, and the most a player took was 14. If you have a few good players, let them take like 20 shots if you want to win a few games, because a team like Shocker or TMC or Moose or Flint or Rim, they have a bunch of players where you can spread it out. But in this league, with the talent level, unfortunately, that it's come to, you need your stars to shine. So that's what Gentlemen's Clubs going to need to do. The Chasers have arguably the best big man in the league. I'd say probably the best big man in the league, and David Armstrong. He's an absolute monster. Jerome Baskin's a beast. Dominique Langston, I talked about him on my Surprise on the Rise. This Chasers team is back, and they look better than ever.
Better than ever?
Well,
you think better than Jerry and when they were both
no. Right? No, I phrased that wrong. They look good. They look like better than I thought they would.
All right, that's fair. And by the way, I don't know if anyone saw that. My dog just made a brief appearance in the pod. He's sitting on my lap. He's an elderly dog, and he needs to be aided to at this time in his life. So somehow snuck his way on the pod because he's a little crybaby. But Greg, let's keep it moving, buddy. We got one more game to go through. The last game, the closest game of the week, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it was. Looking at my math, not too good at math. If anybody wants to know a little fun fact about me, not a math major, that's for sure. Let's just say that. Run TMC, Nick Strong, man, 65-59. And this was a game where I think that coming down late to those stretches, it was looking like Nick Strong had a realistic chance to pull off this upset. Just some threes that were made that really, made it a close game. Late in the fourth quarter, I think it was a 3-point game. And Nick Strong was even leading at points late in that fourth quarter. So they weren't able to get the win. TMC was able to squeak it out. Some shots by Joey Zacco, who was ice cold the entire game. But you know what? I kept hearing from all the guys that were on their team, keep shooting, Joey, keep shooting, Joey. And sure enough, Joey in the fourth quarter made 2 big threes that were timely shots. Gave his team some separation there. Eric Singleton was actually showing the range. I think Eric might have worked on his shot in the offseason, Greg, because it looks clean, dude. It looks cleaner than I've seen it in the past. We've always said it's not that Eric can't shoot, but it's just that he's so great at driving. It's like, just drive. Now it's like seeing how he's shooting and confidently. That's a weapon that I think we want to see him now use more, because it's looking like that's just making him extra scary. And then the addition of Eric Langston, I can't say enough about that. DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. Just coming in, balling, getting blocks, throwing alley-oops to himself off the backboard and throwing it down. That was just absolutely scary for the guys that were trying to guard that. I saw the dude's face. He was almost like laughing. Like, what do you want me to do? So Greg, what you see out there from TMC Nick Strong? Because this was definitely a game that was worth analyzing for the both of us.
I mean, first off, two of the best dunks I saw in the week were from Langston brothers. I mean, just what are the Langston family eating? Like, what's the diet they got? I want to be as big and talented as a Langston. Like, I mean, you know, whatever. But like, it's just incredible how well he fits in with this Run TMC team. And then Eric Singleton, I completely agree. I think he was kind of shaking the rust off in the field, but from three, his shot looks he looks a lot better and a lot more efficient from three. It's a scary thought for this team. I mean, once Run TMC gets Reggie Stewart back, and you know, it's really going to be interesting to see how they go forward. But I want to you focus on Run TMC. I want to focus on Nick Strong. They shot 15% from three. If they just shot like 10% better, they probably win this game. And this was a sloppy game. Both teams shooting under 40% for the game. Excuse me. And you know, the Vesecchio brothers, they can dominate inside. They got players that can dominate inside. They should let players like Florentine kind of shoot outside, or maybe just take a few less threes, or maybe just shots weren't falling because they can shoot. But I don't know what it is. I love this Nick Strong team, and I think that they proved, like I said in the preseason, they're a team that I think can make some noise in the middle of the league. I don't think that they're going to be that easy of an out. They're a team that's going to really fight. They're going to play hard defense, and they don't give up easy buckets. That's something that's underrated. I always say they play like a team moose because they play such a good team defense, and they know how each other play. They clearly have team chemistry. So, I mean, again, shout out Nick Strong for making this game against one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in this league.
Yeah, I would definitely say that their Run TMC is one of the best teams. Run TMC was heavily shorthanded. I don't think if I said that or not, but just want to reiterate that. They were definitely down some guys that are difference makers for that team. Reggie Stewart among them, you know. So this was definitely a game where TNC, they did not want to lose because they would have been feeling like, dang, if we only had our whole roster, we would have won that game. So, you know, for them to get the win, squeak out with it was definitely important for them. But like you said, I didn't want to shine the entire light on TMC. You are right. We got to talk about Nick Strong. You did a good job talking about them. But I want to just mention the name Nick Durso. This dude actually was surprisingly, like, he stood out to me. He was in contention for surprise on the rise this week for me. But he had only 10 points on 5 of 11 shooting, but his 10 points were allowed 10 points. Let's just say that. He was the rack and throwing down some hammering dunks. So just having that slasher type defender guy out there on the court with all the threes that they shoot, just having that type of, and then Florentine, who is a very good defender, you always call him Linguini or Spaghetti.
Linguini, my guy.
Because he's like a smaller version of Durant. He's got the long arms and the long legs. He's very lanky and skinny. So you need a guy on the team like Durso he definitely hits the gym. He's got some weight on him and some muscles. So definitely a guy that fits their scheme, fits their role, and definitely a guy to look out for as the season moves along, Greg. But that's going to wrap it up for the recap. Any last thoughts on any games that you saw this week, Greg, or any teams, any players that stood out to you?
You know, it was a good week. It was a good intro week to the league. You can see that there's going to be a stretch in this league when there's going to be some good games because it is a little top heavy, and I cannot wait for some of these top teams to go at it. There is going to be a lot of beef. There's going to be a few fights. There's going to be hopefully no Connor breaking up anything. But, you know, I can't wait for basketball to be competitive and be kept. The one thing I love is, like, for instance, the Melquan Mike Davis rivalry that's been brewing right now. I don't even know how to compare it to because this thing's boiling up. Stucky's instigating it. I mean, I can't wait to see them play, and it's going to be kept on the court, and I love that about that. And maybe it'll get a little push and shoving, but I love basketball like that, and I love how this league's going because there is a lot of beef, but there's also they keep it up on the court, and I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, I couldn't really say it better myself. It's a lot of beef, but it's all on the court. Like you see Melquan and Mike Davis, it would look like that they hate each other on social media, but I've seen those guys face to face, and there is a level of mutual respect there between those guys, and that's what you love to see with basketball players. It's you want to be rivals, but you also want to have that respect for each other, and you see that a lot in legacy leagues, and definitely it's a feel good type thing when you see two guys after the game, after having a fierce battle, dap up and say good game, and that's what makes sports, I think, really good in a lot of ways. But definitely, like you said, Greg, it was a good intro week. But let's go into the next segment now and start talking about these power rankings, man. These power rankings are always one of the more fun segments that we do on the show before we wrap it up with the preview and make our picks for next week. So let's talk about it, man. I saw that the interns list came out, so this is a separate list that me and Greg do. Greg, let's break it down in half. Remember, we used to break it down in all crazy 2s and 4s because we had so many teams, but with only 10 teams, it makes it pretty easy for us to just cut it in half. We'll go first 5, we'll analyze the bottom half, and then we'll analyze the top half. So I'll start with my 5, throw it over to you, and then we'll do the top half after. So let's start at the bottom, Greg. For me, I got 10 Gentlemen's Club, 9 Sports Look, 8 Nick Strong, 7 Young Kings, and 6 I got the Rim Breakers. So this was my bottom half. I think that Gentlemen's Club, unfortunately, bro, might be stuck. It's looking like in the dungeons,
Yep.
the last place spot all season long, unless they could pull off some miraculous.
I'll buy them a slice. I got them a slice of pizza. They win a game. I got them. Every single player in the team. I got them a pie. As long as I get a slice.
A whole pizza on Greg if Gentlemen's Club gets a win. So that's a little bit of added motivation, but kind of disrespectful off rip.
What is that? I'm trying to give them, let's go, boys. Get that dub. I know they got it in them. They got some ballers on the squam. I have inside info that Carmine Santorelli, a Legacy League legend, said there's some good players on that team.
So, like I said, it's not that they're a bad team. It's just that they're the rookie team. They are the newest team in the league, and all these other teams have experience. And I think that's
they made super teams.
Yeah. So I got 10 Gentlemen's, 9 Sports Look, 8 Nick Strong, 7 Young Kings, 6 Rim Breakers. Young Kings and Nick Strong are definitely 2 teams who I think can move out of this bottom half and make some big waves. Rim Breakers, I'm kind of sitting on, the fringe with. I heard that they might have some names coming in. We'll see what happens with that, if that story develops. But that's my bottom half, Greg. Let me hear your bottom half.
All right, so at 10, I got my guys' Gentlemen Club. At 9, I got Sports Look. At 8, I got Young Kings. At 7, I got Nick Strong. And at 6, I got Rim Breakers.
So let me hear you break it down.
I mean, Gentlemen's Club, again, I think they have talent. They just need to figure out kind of how to play in the league. I think they're slowly figuring out. They kind of got it's a rough entry to the league when you have to play the Chasers. I mean, it's not the team you want to play. They're not going to take it easy on you. They're going to come at you and they're going to show you welcome to this league, and they welcomed them to this damn league. But, they just got to keep their head held high and just keep it going, because I could see them passing Sports Look. I think Sports Look's going to stay around the 8, 9, 10. Nick Strong, again, I like those guys. I think they're really gritty, and they're just going to do their thing, man. I look at that team. They're like 8 JJ Watts. That's just how I look at them, man. They're gonna give it your all. And then the Rim Breakers, man. Them and the Young Kings and Nick Strong are 3 teams that I just don't know what to do with, because they have talent, and I just got to see them in a few more games against some of these top tier teams, and then I'll really know how to rank them. Because they have so much talent. I don't know who they're going to add. I know these teams are going to add people or lose people. I don't know what's going to go on. But, I mean, those 3 teams, it's really hard for me to rank because I think they're so close. And I love a lot of players on those teams. But I think when it comes down to it, the Rim Breakers are the most talented of those 3. So that's really why I end up having the Rim Breakers at 6.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think that the Rim Breakers definitely has the most talent, but we've seen them not play as a cohesive team in seasons past and kind of have meltdowns and self-implode. So, that's, there's 2, like we always talk about, there's 2 parts of Legacy League's teams. There's the talent part, and then how well that team plays together. That's something we questioned last season all along with Shocker City. Yes, they were a God squad, but were they going to all mesh together, right? We were worried about that, and we were almost favoring Team Moose, who admittedly we came to agreement with wasn't a better team on paper, but they just played such a better brand of basketball. But hey, in that situation, talent won out, and won out clearly. And Shocker City was the better team on paper and on the court when it came to face the facts. So but we always talk about that's those two components of what makes up a team, and it's interesting to see how different teams formulate rosters based on talent and chemistry, and vice versa. So let's get into these top halves now, Greg. Let's start off with the number 5 team for me was the Chasers. This was the comeback champs from a couple seasons ago, and they're sitting at 5. Might be a little bit low. Might be to some people, I think that they might have been in the top 3 or even number 2 in the interns rankings. But they're number 5 for me because I see what these other teams ahead of them have. Like teams I got number 4, I got Team Moose. Team Moose. I just think has a little bit more depth, and like the things we just talked about, their brand of team basketball really sets them apart from the Chasers, who they lost Jerry and Didi, who takes a big hit on their roster. But I still like their pieces, Dominique, and I think that they have some definitely real potential to go all the way. At 3, I got the Flint Tropics, your boys, dude. This is a year where they have the chance to get the trophy that they want, man. This is a year I think where the competition is 100% stiff, but it's might be a little bit top heavy. So if they can just squeak into a late run into the playoffs, dude, they're going to be one of the best teams and have a very realistic shot of going all the way. And at 2, I got last year's runner-up, Run TMC. The runner-up, Run TMC. That was no pun intended there, but that's just how that works out. Definitely a team that, even though they almost lost to a team that we have in the bottom 3, at least for me, I have Nick Strong in the bottom 3. My power rankings at number 8. This was a game where they were shorthanded, Run TMC, and they were able to get the win. And for me, at number 1, I got Soccer City, the defending champs. They got the most talent, in my opinion, this league this season. But that's not to say that they're guaranteed to go all the way. So that's my list, Greg. To finish it off, I'd love to hear yours, and then break it down why you got your teams ranked where they are.
All right. So before I go into my list, spoiler alert, I have Shocker City too. So I love to throw these curveballs like Connor. So we're live now, and I got to put him on the spot. So who do you think the best player, like, duo that's played with Mike is? Because I guess you could say this year it's Mike and Jerry, Mike and Pratt last year, Mike and Russ. Who do you think was the best out of those like duos?
Bro, I gotta say Mike and Russ, dude. I loved those new duos, dude, for real. So much talent. But Mike and Russ, dude, that's the OGs, man. Russ was so good, dude. I wish Russ played. We saw him briefly last season, but he hurt his ankle. He's always had ankle issues from what I've heard, and ankle issues are really redundant. That's what sucks about them, is once you screw up your ankle, it happens again and again and again. You can look at Steph Curry as an example of that. Ankle issues are so reoccurrent once they cripple a player, basically. So I never heard how his surgery went or if he had it, Greg. I know that you probably heard about it maybe, but
I didn't, unfortunately.
But yeah, we wish Russ the best. We hope that to see him in the legacy leagues again sometime soon. That is a risk that all these players take. A lot of these guys, Greg, we don't talk about that enough on the podcast. Some of these guys are collegiate athletes, high school athletes, guys that have jobs where they're on their feet all day. And for them to really put that on the line and come play basketball, not just for our entertainment, but for their entertainment. And when injuries happen like that in a league like Legacy, it sucks. So I know that I don't think he has sustained the actual injury when he was playing Legacy, but just such a thing as just a minor ankle tweak when you have bad ankle problems is tough. So that was the duo, man, Mike and Russ. But that was the team that was the duo I would say was for me the one that I think of fun most highly.
All right. So my power rankings to get back is 5 Moose, 4 Chasers, 3 TMC, 2 my guys the Flint Tropics, and then 1 I got Shocker City.
Wow. Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah, big shocker.
That's a shocker, Greg, for real. Not like you spoiled that one or anything, but definitely deserving to be in that top spot. So yeah, we'll see how these rankings shake up and move around, Greg. But that's it for this week on the power rankings. Let's head into this preview, bro. So me and Greg with the previews each week. We didn't do it for week 1, obviously, but I don't think we did it for week 1 last year, especially because sometimes new players, new teams, it's really tough to even make those picks. It kind of makes us look like idiots with teams we have no idea, we've never seen before, like Gentlemen's Club, or players on teams that we have no idea the type of impact they're going to make. If they made new additions, new rookies and whatnot. So we always like to start with week 2 and go on from there. We keep track of who has the most wins, who got the most right. Last season it was me because I'm the best. Greg sucks.
One game. By one game.
So I'm going to give you the honor to lead off, and then we'll start off with this first game, Flint Tropics versus Team Moose, and who do you think and briefly why.
Do I even have to say? I'm picking Flint. Let's fucking go, Flint. Yes, I swear. Let's go, Flint!
He couldn't have said it with any more authority. I'm going to go Flint in this game as well. I've seen them play Team Moose, and they get in Team Moose's head. It's crazy. It's not going to work on Melquan. Melquan, if you start firing at him, this game is going to be some fireworks in this game. I cannot wait for this game, actually.
Melquan might drop 40.
Melquan's going to go crazy, and I just hope that his teammates aren't rattled. It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a lot of trash talking in this game, and it's going to be a close game. So I can't wait for this one. I'm going to go with Flint on this one with you too, Greg, just because I got them higher in the rankings. So it kind of be like going back on my word if I picked Moose in this game, even though Melquan is definitely one of my fan favorite players in this league for a long time now. I love his defense. I think he's one of the best defenders in this league. Definitely one of the best defenders in the history of this league because he's just been so consistent over each season that he shows up. So I'm going to pick Flint against Melquan here, but I think it's definitely going to be a close game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Team Moose has a chance to pull it out, man. So I'm going to pick Flint, but it's up in the air. Shocker City. I think Shocker's going to win this game. I don't think it's too surprising for me to say that. But I think Young Kings just got to go out there and do their best to keep this game close. They got some good shooters. Eddie's one of the best shooters in the league. So, they just get hot from three. They just got to try to contain Mike and shoot a lot of threes. That would be your best bet to win this game, right, Greg?
Yeah, I'd agree. If Deontay Washington goes, Jesus, it's going to be a show. If he's not there, it's still going to be a show. The Young Kings, I heard of some new players, and I think they're really going to have a better game. I'm gonna be interested to see how they do compared to Sportslook, because that'll definitely give me a bearing as to who the Young Kings are as a team. But I expect the Young Kings to really fight and really show out, and I expect them to hold Chris Rosinski under 10 points. I just think that Shocker City is one of those teams that's going to blow out most of these teams this year because they're just so supremely talented. I think there's only a few teams in this league that can really give them a run for their money. And, I want to be proven wrong. Prove me wrong. I'll be the villain. I'll eat my crow. Whatever you want. I'll eat a turkey leg on whatever you want me to do. I'll do it on the podcast. But I got Shocker City in this one.
Yeah, that's a pretty unanimous decision there. Shocker City over Young Kings. Let's keep it moving, Greg. The next game, Rim Breakers Gentlemen's Club. It's tough to not pick Rim Breakers in this game, even though it's like, me and Greg like picking those sneaky underdogs that we know the other guy's not going to pick, so we get the one up on him if it goes our way. This game's not worth going that way, though, Greg. I think the Rim Breakers are going to pull it out. Just too much experience, multiple seasons now, and a roster that I think is definitely legit. So even though Gentlemen's Club, I like these guys. I like the chemistry that they show up with. They definitely have a kind of like a good spirit, you can say, when they're out there. No one's really yelling at each other, bitching or complaining. It's these guys are out there just having fun, after work, playing some basketball with their buddies, and you like to see teams like that. But unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to win this game in that instance, Greg. So what do you think about this game and Rim Breakers versus Gentlemen's Club?
Gentlemen's Club, I think, will fight. I think this is a game they could put a fight up in. I don't know if they'll win, but I think that this is a game where the Rim Breakers can really put down really make teams start to respect their authority and really put a stamp down in the league and say, we might have lost a few players. I remember I was talking to Bronson and he said that Kayvon or McLeese might come next week. I don't know which one, I forget, but it was one of them. So, that would be a huge boost. And this Rim Breakers team has talent, man. And if they 40-piece, 30-piece, 50-piece them, that would be a huge statement they can make. And same goes to the Gentlemen's Club. I call this the statement game. You know what? I'm going to stamp it. This is Greg's statement game of the week. Each week I'm picking one. This is my statement game of the week. This is the game where both teams can make a statement. Gentlemen's Club can prove we're not going to be at the bottom of the barrel. Rim Breakers can prove we're one of the top tier teams once again in this league.
I like it. I like that, Greg. Each week you should make a Greg statement game of the week.
Yep.
Okay. So that's patented. That's locked and loaded. That's there it is. So if anybody
send me my check, Joey.
Send me the check. I want royalties on this segment here. That's what Greg's saying right now. So Greg, last two games, man, to recap before we wrap things up, man, or to preview. I'm sorry, not to recap, to preview. Let's get right into it, Greg. Run TMC Sportslook. This is two of the oldest tenured teams in the league, man. This is some of the old heads going at it, man. TMC Sportslook. Joey's probably played these guys so many times in his Legacy Leagues career. Who do you have winning this one, Greg? I got TMC.
I got TMC too, man. I mean, I think Joey's going to start to get a little more hot. I think Eric Langston's going to absolutely eat. I think Sportslook will put a fight up, but if Reggie's back, I expect TMC to absolutely roll.
Yeah, it's tough to pick against them, dude. The runners up and looking good this season. If they have their guys, then I expect nothing less than a run TMC victory in this game. Greg, the last one, man. Nick Strong versus the Chasers. This is going to be a good one. I you know what? I'm going to pick Nick Strong. Admittedly, thinking that they're the underdogs in this game, I think that they have a chance, dude. I'm going to go with Nick Strong here, and I'm hoping you pick the Chasers, so we have a little bit of something to watch during the show on Legacy Leagues night.
See, you got to wonder when the first time I go up to Nick Strong, week one, I'm talking to them. They're like, yeah, you're the guy who actually likes me on the podcast. Now Connor comes out, and now he's all of a sudden riding Nick Strong to hop on the bandwagon with me. But I'm going Chasers. I love you, Nick Strong. I love my guys over there. They're the GOATs. But let's Chasers. I mean, David Armstrong's going to absolutely eat in this game. And I think this is the David Armstrong show. He's just so much taller and he's not bigger, but he is just a monster down low. And if Nick Strong's hot from three, they will absolutely pull this game off. But I just expect the Chasers to really show out. And if Dominique Langston continues to play the way he's playing, you can't really stop this Chasers team.
And I like how you picked the Chasers. And now we have something, I think that was the only game that we have different, right, for next week?
Yep.
So that's going to be something that we can watch with some entertainment purposes, Greg. But before we wrap things up, do get into the outro. Any last closing comments for all the fans and players who are watching at home?
Yeah, I do have a last closing comment. Every week we see how many missed mid-range shots there are. But there is not a worse mid-range shooter in the league than Connor was when he played. And I just want to let everyone know that. That's all I got to say. I'm pumped for week 2, pumped for week 3. We got a hell of a slate of games. Let's go, Flint. And, I'm pumped for the league. Actually, I'm really excited because I think that this year's playoffs is going to be one of the better ones because it's arguably very top loaded. But the bottom 4 teams in the league, they can make some noise, and you never know because they can all shoot. And that's something that I think a lot of bad teams in the past really couldn't do. For instance, above the rim.
Greg, there's a reason why both of you talk and have retired from the playing side. Admittedly, I was no shining star in Legacy. You were as bad,
underutilized,
even worse. Okay?
Brzezinski gets Mike Davis when I retire. Unbelievable,
bro. You got replaced by Chris, and anybody that watches and knows who Chris in his basketball realm, Legacy Leagues, they know that that's disrespect to you. And
oh my God,
that's something that we definitely have to retiring your number and getting Chris out of that jersey or tainting that jersey because that's disrespect.
Oh my God.
So
I got nothing else.
You got nothing else?
No, hell no.
All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for this episode here on the Winter 18 Weekly Rebound Podcast. The
Winter 19?
Winter almost. Wow.
Is it 19?
It's 18, but it's gonna be 19 during the season. So it's that's gonna change.
So it's an 18-19.
It's halfway through. It's gonna be 19, and it's gonna be the 18. So that's kind of had my mind all over the place on what to call this season, but. It's the Weekly Rebound, Greg. It's me and you, baby. It's all that matters. And we'll be back next week. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Weekly Rebound. You guys can tweet us your questions, your comments, reactions from around the league, and we'll do our best to respond. And anything that's actually highlight worthy, we'll throw it up on the pod next week, and we'll be back probably doing Google Hangouts. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely give us your feedback on this new format that we're rolling with. But definitely it should be available on SoundCloud too. Have the audio and of course the visual version for you guys out there. So thank you guys for tuning in, everybody, for watching. This was a pleasure, and we'll be back next week. Thanks again.